It's 2008. I'm living the dream. Standing in our multi-million-dollar home on Waiheke Island, looking out over the city skyline, I put my arms around Catherine and say, my wife, and say, honey, we finally made it. After years of entrepreneurial hustling and scraping, we finally hit the big time. My business partners and I were importing frozen pastries from a European multinational and selling them through supermarkets around Australia. After 2 years, we just cracked $10 million sales, and we just also cracked our first $1 million month. Life was good, and there was plenty of blue sky ahead. Sitting one morning, sipping my latte, reading the local paper, I saw an ad for a presentation about the World Food Forum that had just been convened in Rome. I thought, I'm in food. I might meet someone there, expand our business into New Zealand. I'll go along. What hadn't occurred to me was that the World Food Forum was actually a gathering of delegates from governments all around the world to address the global food crisis that we were in the grip of. And what I learned was that large-scale, mega-scale, industrial-type food was forcing small-scale family farms and artisan food producers out of the market, which was in turn tearing apart the fabric of the community in the areas that those businesses were. And I was part of the problem. And sitting in that room, I felt like a fox amongst the hounds. I didn't know what to do. But I went home and I'm like, but what am I going to do? Like, what am I meant to do? I'm earning a living here. I've got a family to feed. I've got a big rent to pay. I can't. What would you do? And then something happened, unexpected, that made it crystal clear. The 2008 global financial crisis hit. Boom. The Australian dollar plummets against the euro, and we're paying in euros. So our business goes from making great profits to making terrible losses overnight. And the more sales we make, the more money we lose. We call an emergency board meeting. And one of the options put on the table is, look, let's just stop trading until things even out a bit, until we can renegotiate our prices with our supermarkets and the like. And in that moment, I thought, wow, we're only one of hundreds of food importers around the country, and I bet they're all having the same meeting about the same time. And I wonder if they're putting that option on their table. And I wonder what the supermarket shelves would look like after just a few weeks if all the businesses like us would just say, just stop that for a little while, that food coming in. And in that moment, it became blindingly obvious how vital our local food growers and local food producers are. And then I had an idea. What if we could take the smarts, the technology, and all the systems to solve the complex long-distance supply chain and pair that with the short-distance advantage of local food? Maybe we could cut enough fat out of the supply chain to make local food viable again. So, with the bunch of awesome people, a lot of awesome people, we started Ooooby, which is a completely new kind of business model designed to revive local food. Look, there's more people who have helped out than the names up there, but this is a great effort, team effort. Ooooby is basically like an online farmers market. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. Or an online local food buyers club. You can buy from a variety of local vendors, growers, and artisan producers, and local commercial food producers as well, and have them all delivered onto your doorstep in a single box. The hypothesis for the business model was that by pairing the high-tech supply chain solution with a short-distance advantage of local food, we could make local food as affordable and convenient as industrial food. And plus, with the trend away from the shopping experience of going into store and buying your food, and more back to the old-fashioned way of having your food delivered to your doorstep, because local food doesn't have all the retail infrastructure and all this rent and everything to pay, it might actually be far enough behind to be ahead. So here's how it would work. You order your food on Ooooby.org. The growers basically pick to order, then deliver the food to the Ooooby hub, and then it's packed and delivered to your door, all in one fluid motion. Okay? And the secret sauce of the Ooooby model basically comes down to the supply chain. So a traditional supply chain, the grower grows the food, then sells it and transports it to the wholesaler. The wholesaler then holds onto the food until it sells it and transports it to the retailer. The retailer then holds onto the food until you transport yourself to the retailer, pick the food up, and transport the food back home. In that scenario, around 70% of the value of the food is actually supply chain cost. And the grower is getting about a third, if it's just fresh food, the grower's getting about a third of the value, which is only really just enough to scrape by. International supply chains, on the other hand, are more like 5 or more links, where over 80% of the value of the food is actually supply chain costs. And the original grower or producer is getting less than 1/5 of the retail value. And only large operations can really afford those margins. Whereas with the same-day 2-link supply chain that we were thinking about, the grower would be able to get half of the retail value, and the customer wouldn't have to pay any more than they'd normally pay. Because we could pretty much cut out up to 30% of the cost of the supply chain. So everyone's better off. So, great theory, but would it actually work? Well, like the crazy entrepreneurs we are, we just jumped in and started doing it. We've now delivered over 25,000 boxes to over 1,400 doorsteps around Auckland, and we've got a prototype that we feel works. It does work. And in the last 18 months, we've been tracking our prices, and we've been on par with the supermarket and retail prices, their in-store sticker prices, and our prices are delivered to your door. So when you take into account that the product's delivered to your door, you're actually making a bit of a saving. And everyone's getting paid above market rates. We do sometimes supplement our boxes from the markets when it suits the growers, but we always buy direct as often as possible. And it's great for our growers. Bill and Marilyn had been trying to keep their business alive for a long time, and the roadside stall was great, but it really didn't scratch the surface. Going to the farmers markets is really good, and it meant losing their weekends, and if they didn't sell enough food, they had a lot of waste left over. Cafes, little buyers, co-ops, organic shops, great, but after running around, really not worth the while. And it also works for our distribution team. On only as little as 300 customers in the space of a garage or shipping container, this is a very viable business where everyone gets paid a good rate for their work. Today, this is our customer spread around Auckland, and we've just delivered our first box in Sydney. And we're we're looking at new cities around the world at the moment. With Ooooby, we're adopting the Food Commons model, which is an ownership and governance model that is collectively owned by the participants that are involved, including customers, growers, all sorts of different participants. So there's no fear of this being taken off on some private agenda. Ooooby's just playing a very small part in a global food renaissance that's happening around the world right now, a local food renaissance. It's happening around the world right now. Our job is to connect in with all of the local food leaders around the world and work together to piece together a full comprehensive grocery solution that makes local food the obvious choice for everyone. But the thing that's best about this is that the solution is actually something we all love to do anyway. And that is sit around a table with our loved ones and the people we care about, sharing a meal made from food that we can trust and connect with. So, it's good for you, it's good for your family, it's good for the world. So let's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we thrive.